One morning, I woke up to something so bizarre, so utterly ridiculous, that for a fleeting moment, I thought I was still dreaming. It was 6 a.m., and there I stood in my driveway, staring at 4 enormous shipping containers stacked right in front of my house. No warning, no explanation, just towering metal walls blocking my way out. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for how this all unfolds. The sheer size hit me first. These weren't flimsy little storage units. They were industrial-grade shipping containers, stacked 2 by 2, sealing off my driveway completely. My truck was trapped, and my front yard lay buried in the shadow of these steel giants. I took a step back, trying to wrap my head around it. Who in their right mind would do this? My neighbor, Mr. Grayson, a grizzled old man, was already out on his porch, coffee in hand, shaking his head. "Looks like the HOA finally got you," he grumbled, sipping his mug as if this were just another ordinary day. I frowned. "Got me? What are you talking about? What is this?" He let out a dry chuckle, his eyes still locked on the metal monstrosity. "Ellen says you broke some rule about unapproved driveway changes or something. Guess this is their way of making a point." My pulse surged. I hadn't touched my driveway. My property hadn't changed in years. No renovations, no violations, nothing. Fuming, I yanked out my phone and dialed the HOA office. No answer. I tried again, straight to voicemail. That's when I spotted a bright red notice taped to one of the containers. I tore it off and scanned the text. "By order of the HOA, this property has been deemed in violation of community guidelines. These containers will remain in place until further notice. Any attempts to remove them will result in legal action." Legal action? They were threatening me over something I didn't even do. My jaw tightened. This wasn't a mix-up. It felt personal. If the HOA wanted a fight, they'd just picked the wrong person to tangle with. I wasn't about to let this slide. I called the HOA again, voicemail, predictably. So I jumped in my truck and drove to their office, only to find the doors locked tight. A closed for maintenance sign hung on the glass, but through the window, I could see a woman sipping coffee at a desk. I pounded on the door. She glanced up, saw me, and immediately turned away, pretending I wasn't there. That's when it clicked. They weren't just dodging me, they were hiding. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Hey, everyone, just a heads up. This is how my HOA operates." I panned the camera to show the containers blocking my driveway, then back to the locked office. No warning, no due process, just straight up barricading my home. And now they won't even answer my calls. I think the world deserves to know how they run things, don't you? I posted the video online. Within minutes, notifications flooded in. People were outraged. Turns out, I wasn't the only one they targeted. Comments poured in with stories of harassment, bogus fines, even one about an elderly woman threatened over the shade of her front door. But then things took a strange turn. A private message popped up from an anonymous account. "Check the county records." I frowned. What did that mean? The profile was blank. No name, no picture, no posts, just that cryptic note. I hesitated, then decided to dig into the county's property database. If the HOA was up to something shady, there had to be a trail. And there it was, a document filed under my name, except I'd never seen it before. According to their records, I didn't even own my house anymore. My stomach churned. This wasn't just HOA overreach, it was outright theft. Someone was going to pay. My hands gripped my phone as I dug deeper. The new owner wasn't a person. It was a company called Pinnacle Property Group. I'd never heard of them, but the more I searched, the worse it got. Pinnacle was linked directly to the HOA. The board president, Richard Hayes, was listed as the majority shareholder. It hit me like a ton of bricks. This wasn't about some petty rule violation. They were trying to force me out of my own home. I grabbed my keys and sped to City Hall. If they'd filed this scam in the county records, there had to be legal paperwork. The clerk gave me a wary look when I explained what I needed, but she eventually handed over a copy of the property transfer. There it was, a signature under my name, except it wasn't mine. I traced the forged scrawl with my finger, my blood boiling. This was fraud, plain and simple. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. I had to act fast. If the HOA was bold enough to forge documents, they wouldn't just let me unravel their scheme unchallenged. As I left City Hall, my phone buzzed with another message from the anonymous account. "You don't have much time. They know you're looking." I froze. Someone inside the HOA was watching me. If they knew I was onto them, what would they do to silence me? The walls were closing in. If they'd gone this far, they wouldn't hesitate to escalate. I rushed back to my truck, scanning the street. Was someone tailing me? I couldn't afford paranoia, not now. I needed a plan and hard evidence. I drove to my lawyer's office, determined to take this to court. But when I pulled into the parking lot, something felt off. The lights were out, and the door hung ajar. Inside, the place was a wreck. Papers strewn everywhere, drawers ripped open, computers gone. Then I saw it. A note on the desk, scrawled in jagged handwriting. Drop it. My breath caught. Someone had beaten me here. I backed out, my mind spinning. If my lawyer was compromised, the legal route was shaky. I needed something bigger, something undeniable. Then it hit me, the media. I scrolled through my contacts and called an old college buddy, Tom, who worked as a reporter. Hey, man, long time, he answered, casual as ever. Forget the small talk, I cut in. I need you to hear me out. My HOA's trying to steal my house, and they're covering their tracks. I've got proof. Silence. Then, meet me in an hour. Bring everything. I hung up, gripping the wheel. If the HOA thought they could intimidate me into silence, they were about to learn how wrong they were. But as I pulled out of the lot, I noticed a black SUV parked across the street, engine idling, watching me. This wasn't just HOA corruption anymore. Someone dangerous was pulling the strings, and now they knew who I was. I floored it, taking a winding, unpredictable route through back roads, checking my mirrors. No tail, but the unease lingered. They wanted me to know they were there. By the time I reached the diner to meet Tom, my hands were still trembling. He sat in a booth near the back, sipping coffee like it was no big deal. I slid in across from him. I don't have much time. I need this story out fast. He raised an eyebrow. Slow down. What are we talking about? I handed him my phone, showing the forged signature, Pinnacle's ties to the HOA, the threats, the containers. His laid-back vibe evaporated. Jesus, this is huge. I leaned in. It's more than huge, it's a racket. They're stealing homes, forcing people out, and flipping properties under fake ownership. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. All right, I need a few days to verify. We don't have days, I snapped. They hit my lawyer's office. Left a note. His eyes sharpened. They're covering their tracks? And they know I'm onto them, I said. If we wait, they'll bury it. He nodded, glancing out the window. Okay, I'll run it. But we need something bigger than an article. A moment they can't ignore. A moment? I asked. He smirked. Something that'll blow up before they can spin it. Then his gaze shifted past me. I turned and felt my blood run cold. The black SUV was parked across the street. The doors opened, and two men in suits stepped out. They weren't watching anymore. They were coming. I spun back to Tom. Still think we have time? He swallowed hard. We need to move now. We bolted from the booth just as the men entered the diner, their eyes locked on me. I kept my head down and headed for the back exit, Tom close behind. Got a plan? He whispered. Yeah, I muttered, shoving the door open. Stay alive. We slipped into the alley, but I knew we weren't clear. They wouldn't let us walk away. I pulled out my phone and started a live stream. All right, everyone, if you're watching, the HOA scam just got worse. They're erasing evidence, and now I'm being followed. See these guys? I angled the camera toward the diner's back door as the men stepped out, scanning the alley. Their faces were live for thousands to see. One cursed, grabbed his partner, and retreated. They didn't want the exposure. Tom leaned in. That bought us time, but we need to go public fast. I nodded. There was only one way to end this. We raced to my truck and sped to the local news station. If the HOA thought they could keep this quiet, they were in for a rude awakening. The station manager waved us in. Saw your stream. We're running the story. The anchor wants you on in 10. 10 minutes later, I sat under blazing studio lights, staring into the camera. The city was about to hear how their HOA wasn't just corrupt, they were criminals. The anchor kicked off the segment. Tonight, an exclusive story on a massive fraud operation targeting homeowners. The screen behind us lit up with footage of my property, the containers, the forged documents. It was all out there now, no turning back. Then my phone buzzed. Another message from the anonymous account. Nice move, but this isn't over. I exhaled slowly. Oh, I knew it wasn't over. But now the world was watching, and I wasn't backing down.